Today's guest on the corner with Camille Sayed is 8-0, undefeated, has won the WBF Australasia title, the WBA Asia title, and he's gearing up for the biggest fight of his life, one of the biggest shows he's ever participated on. Danilo Creati, welcome to the corner with Camille.
Thank you, Camille. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Mate, you're coming up against Michael Zerafa, a fairly experienced fighter, has been around the world, has only lost to world-class opposition. They're already teeing up a fight with Triple G next, allegedly. How do you feel about that? Do you feel a little bit disrespected that already had verbal agreements for another fight, and do you feel they're looking past you?
Absolutely not. I'm actually a replacement. I know Zerafa supposed to be fighting against somebody else.
Yep.
That's why they asked me to replace and let's say to cover the fight night. I'm fighting in a weight category above.
Yep.
They gave me 3 weeks of notice, but I was ready because I was already training for a 6th round against Benjamin Hussein. I'm supposed to be in the same undercard.
Yep.
So I just picked up even more my training session. I just ramp up and here I am.
Ready?
Yeah.
Well, it takes a lot of courage to jump in there. As you said, you're getting ready for a 6th rounder against Benjamin Hussein, and now you're moving up to a 10 rounder against a world-rated fighter in Michael Zerafa. So it takes a lot of courage. But one thing I wanted to discuss is, one of the things that came out of the press conference was, who is Danilo? I've never heard of him, which obviously he has. You don't sign to fight someone if you haven't heard of them. So you're from Chieti?
Yes.
Italy?
Good
in
pronunciation.
Abruzzo,
Yeah.
Perfetto. Tell me a little bit about who is Danilo. Growing up, what were you like?
I was a really hyperactive guy,
Yep.
which in the start gave me a bit of trouble in the school. But then slowly I find out my way in the sport. Let's say I tried all the sport of my life until I found myself in boxing, which is a solo sport.
Yeah.
I'm good with team sport, but not everybody was giving the 100% as I was doing, so I was getting always frustrated. And when you lose because of somebody else, you can't really learn lessons. So this is where I find out, okay, you know what, let's try a solo sport. And one day I just walked into a boxing gym and I fell in love for boxing, and I actually start to burn my energy in excess for hyperactivity, HDAD, how they call it now. And I loved it from the first day.
Well, it's great that you've been able to channel that ADHD, that hyper energy, hyperactive kid into a sport, and that's given you a career and an opportunity to change your life as it has now.
Yeah.
Do you feel with your boxing career, if we transition to your boxing career, do you feel you're a little bit underrated? Because although you're 8-0 with only 1 KO, you've technically had 2 more professional fights at least that aren't on your record. There's one in Korea that happened.
Yes.
That was a 10 rounder, I believe.
Yes.
And there was another one in Vietnam that happened. So you're technically 10-0.
Yeah.
But they haven't been displayed on your record, is that correct?
Yes. In Vietnam, I've been invited for a kind of exhibition, but I was fighting the twice Vietnamese champion in my weight category, so I was a really good fighter. And in Korea, I supposed to be fighting for a WBC something, but last second, Koreans changed the venue, and the WBC didn't sanction anymore the fight, so it just became a normal fight.
Yeah.
It was a 10-round fight, tough fight. Yeah.
So that's the upbringing, obviously.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about the press conference itself.
Yeah.
So the fight was announced. You've had 3 weeks notice.
Yeah.
How was the actual press conference? Because that's the first time you'd say you've really had that much media attention on you.
Yeah.
Was it a little bit nerve-wracking? Did you look like you took it in your stride up on the top stage, pretty comfortable? How did it feel?
Look, I'm not gonna deny, my first huge press conference, my first fight as a main event. So in the start, I was a bit like wetty hands, you know what I mean? I had the idea to go there, but as soon as you go there, as soon as you start to mix with everybody, you feel in the game, this is where I start to surf, you know what I mean? I start to feel myself, and I've been there so many times. I've never been main event for a professional fight, but I've been main event for a lot of tournament, a lot of amateur fight. As you said, I've got a long and big career, so anyway.
Well, you've had over 150 amateur fights.
Yeah.
So tell me also, in that press conference, there was a lot of shit talk, as you'd say.
Yeah.
Did any of that make you feel uncomfortable? And because I know the partners obviously met each other, your partner, his partner met each other at that event. So isn't that a little bit awkward? How that?
Look, I give you my perspective of what happened. Obviously, when you are in a press conference, people talk. It's the show. You wanna sell ticket. You wanna make people interested to that fight.
Of course.
In the same time, I saw with my peripheral eyes, I saw the Michael Zerafa girlfriend approached my girlfriend. And she was like, hi, I'm Michael Zerafa girlfriend, and are you Filipina? And congratulations, because my girlfriend has a big belly. Yeah. I'm gonna become a father in 6 weeks. And this was really nice to see. Then when we finished the show on the stage, I saw Michael to get close to his girlfriend, which was still close to my girlfriend, and introduce himself to my girlfriend. So anyway, I wanna even explain everybody that Michael is not what he look like. You know what I mean? Everybody hates him, but he's actually a really polite guy. He's a human, like everybody. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna tell you a story in the story. I received a phone call from Billy Dib, which is a really good friend of mine. We've been doing some camp together. I fought as an undercard of his world title fight. Really good friends since then. And he asked me, how are you feeling after the press conference? What's your idea? And I told him about this story. And he was like, Danilo, let me tell you a story. We were on the phone. Let me tell you a story. Do you know the fight Costa Tzu against Zab Judah? I was like, yeah. Do you know what happened to that fight? I was like, yeah, I know what happened. Zab Judah lost a round number 2 for KO, really bad one. I was like, yeah, but do you know what happened in that press conference? I was like, no, please tell me. Okay, in the press conference, Zab Judah was the favorite because he was training with Mike Tyson. He was doing the camp with Mike Tyson. He was a big talker. He was a big talker too. Costa was composed on his stool, didn't do much noise. Costa just went to him at the end of the press conference and congratulated to him because his wife was having a baby, exactly like me, in the same moment. In that moment, Zab Judah dropped a bit his stance. He was like, oh, he's a human too, like things like that. Yeah. So he was like, Danilo, be really careful because professional fighter, they don't do just strategy on the ring, but strategy start from before the fight. Yeah. So keep your edge, keep your stance up, keep training like if you know that he wants to kill you, like if you know that he's not human, you know what I mean? Yeah. And stay always focused. And this one was one of the meaningful, best tip I could receive from a veteran like him.
Well, Billy Dib's a seasoned professional and he understands just as well as anybody that this is psychological warfare. The fight hasn't started, you still have 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever. Yeah. This is all psychological warfare now. Being nice isn't being nice. Being mean isn't being mean. It's all psychological warfare. Yeah. But I also wanted to talk to you about, you've had another world champion who you've been in communication with. Yeah. 2-weight world champion, Paulie Malignaggi. Yeah. So the great Paulie, what advice has he given you in your style, in your fighting, in your career, in life? How has he helped you in this camp?
He watched Michael Zerafa fight, and he told me that Michael is well known in America. And he also told me the same what you just said. It's a mental game, especially when you take a fight with such a short notice. Yes, you can ramp up your training session, wherever, but it's a mental game. It's a mental game. So he just told me, don't feel any anxiety, don't feel nothing, don't feel insecure. Just think that you want to go there to execute a plan. Don't think I have to go there and win, I have to do this, I have to execute a plan, execute a plan. And this was actually really a good tip because this attached me from the idea of the verdict of the results. Yep. But it's more about I have to stick to this plan, I have to go with my strategy, with my plan, and wherever it's happening, if I'm winning, if I'm losing, stick to the plan. Stick to the plan. Yeah. It was a great advice.
Yeah, right. So it sounds like you're kind of blocking out external noise and rather than focusing on the victory, the loss, the press, so this, just a plan for the fight. Correct. So narrowing your focus.
Correct.
Yeah, that's something.
Another meaningful chat, priceless. Yeah.
You're quite lucky. You've had a fair few world champions, former world champions, give you like pearls of wisdom that are hard to get from anybody. Yeah. That's been great. And how do you see? I don't want to ask, you're going to be asked a million times a stupid question. How do you see this fight playing? How do you feel all that type of crap coming up in the next few weeks? But I do want to ask from a little bit of a technical standpoint. You are stylistically an awkward fighter.
Yeah.
Your style is unique to Australia, to, I suppose, more tailored towards a European amateur style, and that you're a back foot fighter, counter fighter. How do you see Zerafa, your strengths, neutralizing Zerafa without giving away too much of your game plan?
Look, what I reckon is that Zerafa is one weight category above. So he will feel the bigger man on the ring. He will start to chase me on the ring, which is beautiful because that's my game.
Yeah.
And he will try to knock me down. He will make mistakes, like everybody. And technically wise, I feel I am not just superior, but much more superior. He is where he is because he's a smart fighter. He's different from all the Australian, which they are just front foot and punching.
Yeah.
He understood that you can even back foot and do different.
Yeah.
But anyway, I feel they have the best technique between us.
Well, I definitely also feel this is a high risk fight for him.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, 3 weeks notice, he's picking someone who's undefeated, hungry, and stylistically quite awkward compared to the conventional. So it is also high risk on his part. I feel the media hasn't played that up a bit, but it is a high risk on his part, taking a fight with yourself. And also, a couple of other things I want to touch on is, as you mentioned, you're about to have a baby girl.
Yeah.
And her name will be? Are you allowed
Athena.
Athena.
In Italiano, Athena.
Which means?
Which is a Greek goddess of the wisdom and the goddess of the war.
Yeah.
Like the dead.
And has that changed your perspective, having a baby on the way, your partner, has that changed your perspective on risk-taking, fights, career, purses? Has that really changed who you are?
Okay, look, to be honest, I didn't see this change yet.
Yeah.
Maybe when I see the baby coming in the life, some things will trigger, and I will realize. At the moment, maybe it's my wife to have changed a bit, to become much more mom and caring.
Yeah.
But because she knows that she can feel she's a mom since already 9 months.
Yeah.
For boys, usually you realize when you see the baby coming out, and usually you realize after a week, because in the start you take the baby, doesn't even focus on you, looks like you're taking a stool. You start to get affectionate after a week or two, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not affectionate from the start, don't get me wrong, but you start to actually
realize things.
Correct, after a bit. So at the moment, I'm still Danilo.
Yep.
I don't feel father yet. This decision was made just because I really love fighting.
Yep.
Just love challenges, bro. And especially now that we are living in an era where Mayweather taught us that the zero means undefeated, means good. And so people start to pick and choose the opponents. No, it's not like that. We have to fight everybody. We want to fight. Fighting and losing, in case the loss come, means learning. So if you can learn some things, means that you, after that loss, you are a better fighter. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So every challenge is welcome, and every challenge come to make me a better fighter for the future, and maybe for when I will have a better fight.
Yeah, of course. And I asked that question about the child because I'm not sure if you know much about Formula One. But Bernie Ecclestone, who used to be the director of Formula One, he had a famous saying. He's like, for every child a driver has, they're a tenth of a lap slower.
Okay.
It just means that a little bit more fear sets in. They become a little bit more on the side of self-preservation, so they become a bit slower.
I can understand
so I was just
why.
seeing if that's hit you yet, but no, it appears not, because it can
way.
drive people as well to become greater as well.
Look, for as much as boxing can look like a really dangerous sport, it's still a sport I would suggest to every family for their kids. Because look at me, my nose is still straight. I thank God and touch wood, I never had injury. And this is really, like, you can have more injury in soccer, in basketball, breaking fingers, but because when you play those sports, you take for granted that you're not gonna have injury. That's why you get injury. In boxing, that you know that the game is a bit risky. You are ready for everything. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Formula One, bro, they go at 300 for 400 kilometers per hour. So it's normal that one mistake can really change the life of your family.
Of course. I guess it's the same in boxing, but we just don't realize it because we're in the gym sparring every day. We don't see it. But Danilo, as we sort of come towards the final stage of the interview, the floor is yours. Say what you will, and not just to Zerafa. Forget him. I want to know your legacy to your unborn child, Athena, correct?
Athena, yeah.
Athena. What would you want to say to her one day in 10 years, 15 years, when she looks on YouTube and goes, who was daddy? What would you like to say to her? What would you like to say to all those who love you and believe in you? The stage is yours, Danilo.
Look, I'm not a great talker, and it's difficult to talk watching to the future, because I'm a pragmatic, realistic person. I live day by day.
Yeah.
I don't really care about the future, even though I'm putting base for a good future, but I know that tomorrow can be my last day on the planet. So I don't really plan too much in advance, especially because I see life taking different turn every day, you know what I mean? Every decision that you take, even a little one today, can take you a totally different pattern tomorrow. Yeah. That's why I don't like to make those huge plans. What I want to say is, for everybody, is to always believe in what you do,
yep.
To do it 100%, to don't let other people change your perspective, and to give always, again, your 100% in everything you do.
Perfect. Well, look, Danilo Creati, thank you very much for your time on the corner with Camille, and we wish you all the best against Michael Zerafa.
Thank you, brother.
All the best.
Thank you.